So, we're doing chapter 4, title of which is Essence in Separate Substances. And this follows seamlessly from 1, 2, and 3 because number 1, we just defined being an essence, and he didn't quite make a hardcore distinction in there, but he basically makes a distinction there. The distinction, of course, is rather simple. We don't have to get into all the technicalities of how philosophically you give a robust and convincing argument that they are distinguished, but we can just say that the ultimate conclusion is that an essence is the what it is of a thing, the form, the nature, and its existence is the fact that it exists. It is the truth of the proposition that X, the X being the object in question, exists. And this even makes sense because if you write out a sentence saying the horse exists, well, for one, the horse equals an essence. But if essence was just existence, well, then this would be redundant right here, right?
Yeah.
But as we talked about, existence has nothing to do with essence unless existence is actually in the essence.
Mm-hmm.
And so then we talked about the essence and the ontological sense of material substances, which we found out the sort of the substratum, the thing which holds a material substance in existence, material substance being a composite of form and matter, can't just be form, because the form needs matter to inform for the material substance to exist. It can't just be matter, because matter without form is prime matter, which can't exist. It needs to be organized in a particular way, and thus it turns out the actual substratum of a material object is the composition itself. It ontologically comes before form and matter. In order for the form and the matter to be in that particular case, they need to already be combined, which of course is paradoxical, but it works, as J. Robert Oppenheimer once said in a movie. So, now, then in 3, we did a lot, and we also did the ontology of the Porphyrian tree, and that you get more determinate as you get more specific, and then the final determination is the designated matter, the particular matter of a particular thing under a species, as we talked about. And then finally we talked about, like we said, how existence and we talked basically about the realism problem and the nominalism problem, right? Mm-hmm. And how Aquinas tries to carve a middle road in realism and nominalism and just say common natures. So he tries to get a form that's a species that really exists, but because universal isn't in it or particular isn't in the essence, we don't have to commit ourselves to it being one thing but many things. And we don't have to commit ourselves to total nominalism because there is in fact a thing outside the human mind which is determining what that thing is, classification-wise. So now we're doing the essence of separate substances, which is very interesting for the following reason of separate substances, because, of course, traditionally speaking, separate substances, their first sort of big, what would you say, inauguration and debut in philosophy are going to be Plato's forms, the capital F forms, treeness, horseness, the form of shoe, the form of the good, etc. These are separate substances. By separate, we literally mean not in matter, completely separated from matter. Now, do you know, so if we're not going to do Platonic forms, do you know what the 3 separate substances in this case would be for Aquinas? What actual things, substances, does he believe exists that are not in matter or not material? He says it right at the start of the chapter. We have souls, intelligences, and the first cause.
So angels.
Yes.
Okay.
We really see the angelic doctor at play here, and it's marvelous. So we have souls, angels, and God. Or, as he says, the first cause. Now, So we're going to look at what the essence, so we have the essence of material substances, right? The composite. Now we're going to see what the essence of these things are. That's the goal of the chapter. Now, first, in the first two paragraphs, he deals with a few sort of problems, but the end of the second one really sets us up for his beautiful conclusion. So, at first he says that these come. So, first he says, well, look, he's mainly talking about angels here. So angels, he says, have to be completely immaterial. He does this for, so you might be like, well, why is this a thing? What is he talking about? Like, we all know angels are completely immaterial. Not exactly, for the following reason. The problem is that, so people, there's this thing called spiritual matter, which seems to be a flat-out contradiction in terms, right? Yeah. Because matter is matter and spiritual is that which is not matter, right? This is the first difference in the Porphyrian tree, right? Material, immaterial. So this is like immaterial material, basically. And people were saying that angels had spiritual matter, and even things like basically all immaterial things had something called spiritual matter, because the problem is this: they need to be composed somehow. Why? Well, what happens if it's completely uncomposed? If it has no parts?
It's everywhere.
No. Think about a single object. If a single object is completely uncomposed, what does it mean of that object? No parts.
It's hard for us to we talked about it last time. It's hard to understand simple things.
Yes, no, you're right. It's an easy question. It's completely simple.
Yeah.
So if it's not composed of anything, so each object is one unity. It's a unity of parts, right? Mm-hmm. But an object, technically speaking, doesn't need parts. It could just be a totally simple thing. The problem is, what's the only actual simple thing?
It's God.
Right. So it turns out we need angels to be somehow composed. Because if angels aren't composed, you want to say they're absolutely simple, right? Mm-hmm. Then you're saying, well, they're God. But they're not God, they're angels. So angels have to be composed of something because they're not absolutely simple. And so people were dealing with this problem of well, what are they composed of? Basically, well, it's fine that they're essences because they're immaterial things, right? Mm-hmm. They're a thing. There's a St. Michael the Archangel, a species of what St. Michael the Archangel is, right? That's fine. But what is composed with the essence? It's a tough, I don't even know. You have to come up with something. So they came up with something called spiritual matter. To be honest, I don't know a whole lot about all the debates and musings on what this is. I've read a little bit about it, but I can't recall a whole lot. So he comes out and says, no. Angels are completely immaterial. Mm-hmm. For one, it's because of their power of understanding. So we are a material being and a spiritual being, as you know. But that also means part of our understanding is governed. Now, this is some medieval theories of cognition here. He's actually delving into, so basically, they thought understanding particular things had something to do with the matter that you have in your brain, right? That your brain operates in some way on matter, and that tracks with particular things in matter. And then it was only the immaterial aspect of your intellect, which was the thing that grasped universals. So that was actually proof of the soul, that we can grasp universals, but it's impossible to do that from a singular organ. Yeah. Right? So there's something going on here where the way in which we know angels understand things, they completely receive essences. That's the language they use, the verb receiving. So an angel receives an essence. But if you think the way we do, where part of your thinking is done by matter, you can't, quote unquote, receive an essence. You have to abstract an essence through your brain. You have to perform the mental operation of abstraction in order to come to the essence of something. But angels don't abstract. They literally just receive it. Okay? And so Aquinas says, no. Angels can't have, whatever you mean by spiritual matter, angels can't have that, because if they have any kind of matter, then they can't know the way that we say they know, which is by receiving essences. Because the matter that you have in your operations of your intellect blocks your ability to receive essences the way that angels do. And so then there was this other objection, basically, that well, it's not corporeal matter. Like, corporeal and matter are essentially the same idea, but it was a different kind of matter. But then, I can't quite tell what he's saying, but I think he's saying that, no, all matter is corporeal matter in virtue of being corporeal. So like this, so he's basically like, this whole spiritual matter thing is nonsense.
Yeah.
That's how this opens. Now, this gets us to the wonderful question, though. So if he's not going to go with spiritual matter, but we need angels to be composed, right? What are angels composed of? We have essence. And do you have any, you want to take one shot in the dark?
Form?
No, essence is form.
Oh, okay. Substance, or, well, substance, or
Not quite, because a substance would be something which is composed. It is essay.
oh, okay, yeah.
An essay is the verb to be, the act of being.
Mm-hmm.
And so he makes essay basically something like a noun. They have the beingness, whatever beingness is, basically, right? Because when you put ness on something, you're making it a noun. Yeah, whenever you put ness on something, you make it a noun. So basically, he's making being a noun here. Like, you have the thing of being.
Mm-hmm.
And then we say God's a noun. He is being itself. So whatever this being is that God has / is, they have some of it. So angels turn out to be composed purely of essay and existence. Now, one other thing of note here that he makes notes on. So, remember, essence is also basically the identity of something more. Well, not quite. Essence is what something is. But part of what makes something a particular thing, right, is matter, right? That's how you get the particular chair, right? We have the species of chair, then it has its designated particular matter right there, and it's that particular chair, right? And so same with humans, right? We have the form of rational soul, but then we have our particular matter that makes me Tyler. Now the point of the following is this. So that's why you can't say a man is just his essence, right? We can't just say man is a rational soul. It doesn't make sense because you're not saying his whole essence, right? The essence of man, according to Aquinas, because you have matter and form in the essence, you can't say that's just a part, right?
Yeah.
So you can't say man is a rational soul. You're only saying that's part of man. You also can't say man is flesh and bones because that's part of man, the matter. So ultimately, man becomes a rational soul with flesh and bones. Mm-hmm. Shortly said, man is a rational animal. Animal capturing the matter side, basically. Rational capturing the form side, roughly speaking. But with angels, they don't have any matter in their essence. But essay isn't a part of their essence because they received it.
Okay.
Right? It's not of their nature, right? Mm-hmm. Like, for example, it's not of my essence that I'm 5'9". I received that, basically. It's an accident, sort of, right? it's not exactly my essence that I'm it's my essence that I'm this particular thing, but it's not exactly my essence that my name is Tyler, right? Like I received that. Like that's a principle extrinsic to my essence, my name, right? So esse is also a principle extrinsic to its nature. And thus, what is the essence of an angel?
Immaterial, or, well...
Well, that's a genus of it, right? But
Yeah.
it's not the. Remember, the essence is the final genus plus difference. The essence is the species of angel. So what do you think the essence of an angel is?
Would we say they're rational? Because, well...
Yeah, they are rational, but that's still rational, and then you could do kind of immaterial. The idea is this. There's no other part to it besides that it's infused with esse. Thus, the essence of an angel is itself.
Huh.
Yeah. The essence of an angel is its own identity.
Okay, that makes sense, because you have what makes... Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes. As Avicenna says, and he quotes, "The essence of a simple substance is the simple entity itself." Yes. So the essence of an angel is itself. Okay. Remember, when we say essence of a angel in this regard, that it's essence plus esse, we're meaning its essence ontologically, but its essence epistemologically, like the what it is, right? Not the what is its being, like what kind of, how is it that it bees? That's not what we're answering. That's the ontological question. How is it that bees? No, we're doing the epistemological question, what is it?
Yeah.
Well, there's nothing to say other than it's itself,
Yeah, that makes sense.
which is wonderful. So the essence of Saint Michael the Archangel turns out to be Saint Michael the Archangel. Okay, so then this leads us right into his most famous conclusion on angels, and I'm so bad I freaking forgot this is a really, I forgot my book that has the Duns Scotus translation of him responding to this, and I was going to read the first paragraph because it directly flows from this paragraph I'm about to talk about, because it's the thing that made Duns Scotus, angry.
Yeah.
So here's the idea. He says this, and this is simple. It follows from his whole system. We've been constructing a whole metaphysical system this entire time. His famous remark is this. Well, should I say it first? Okay, yeah, let's do it like this. So you have a species of something, right? You could say we have a species of, rational animal. Now we need individuals, right? What is the individuating principle again, which makes something this particular thing? Matter, right. So we have we'll just say rational soul for easy purpose. We have matter, so then we have Plato, because he has his own matter, and we have Aristotle, because he has his own matter, and we have St. Thomas, because of his own matter. So matter is the thing which makes it possible to have multiple individuals in a species, right?
Mm-hmm.
So with angels, you have remember, the final species of angel is itself. Well, that's kind of weird. So let's say we have the species of, let's call the species that, now it's true that St. Michael the Archangel is his own species, or his own, because he's his own essence. But let's say the species of what St. Michael the Archangel is like, XY angel, right?
Yeah.
Call that the species of angel that makes Saint Michael what he is. Well, if matter is the only thing that can bring multiple things into under one species, makes multiple individuals of one species, then how are we going to get multiple angels under one species? If you need matter to be the thing which brings multiple into existence.
Is it identity again?
Well, it can't be identity because there's only one identity per thing. It's a trick question. There's only one angel per species.
Okay.
Because matter's the thing which brings multiple individuals per species. So, under XY angel, you have Saint Michael, but this image is not analogous to this image because these are individuals under one species. Saint Michael is not an individual under this species because if you made these images analogous, this Saint Michael would have matter here, bringing him into an individual being under the species of XY angel, but there is no matter. So Saint Michael just is XY angel. They're the same thing. And so that's even why we don't say, oh, well, there's, we say archangels and that's fine, But on a philosophical level, there's just XY angel, but XY angel is just Saint Michael.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like you said, they say archangel, but there's really with Saint Gabriel, there's not anything, they're not under.
Yes. Gabriel, Michael, Raphael are not under the archangel in this particular way of making sense of it. Okay. So, thus, there's only one angel per species, and this is what Duns Scotus doesn't like. He's like, this just can't be the case. There has to be many under one species. And this is why he brings in Hasaides. I know I'm saying that wrong, but I don't know how to say it. Which is an immaterial way of individuating something. Mm-hmm. So my Hasaide would be like Tylericity. You would be Nathanicity. So we both have rational soul here. And then so we both have this, the same one, but then on top there's a little bit of, Tylericity and Nathanicity. Okay. And that is what makes us different. But it's at the level of form and not at the level of matter. Mm-hmm. Okay. So that's why we have one angel per species, because it's simple. Matter is the principle of individuation. There's no matter for angels. Therefore, we can't individuate at the level of the individual, so we stop at species, which are still immaterial, because species are just forms. And as we just talked about, angels are just forms with essay. Okay. So, okay. We're not going to spend any time on the act and potency stuff, but it's not particularly. We'll be done in 15.
Okay. I just want to let you know I was in the English office.
See you there. Okay. Yeah, we're not going to spend any time on the act and potency stuff. It's not particularly relevant. But now we're going to do his big proof of God in here. Okay. So I'm just going to start from 6. So he says, substances of this kind, though pure forms without matter, are not absolutely simple. They are not pure act, but they have a mixture of potentiality. Well, yeah, so let's talk about it a little bit. Why? So God's pure act, he can't receive anything. So you have potency if you can receive something.
Yeah.
But God, there's nothing for God to receive.
Yeah, we talked about it. I feel like we talked about it a lot in philosophy, actually. You cannot, I mean, this isn't directly related to it, but like you cannot give what you do not have. Therefore, God has everything because
Yes.
He made everything.
Yes.
So,
Yes. So God can't receive. But angels can receive. They can receive esse and essences. They can know more things, and they can come into being, essentially. Right? So, they have a mixture of potentiality. The following consideration makes this evident. Everything that does not belong to a concept of an essence or quiddity comes from outside and enters into composition with essence, because no essence can be understood without its parts. Now every essence or quiddity can be understood without knowing anything about its being. Okay, we've talked about this plenty, but remember, you can perfectly know what a horse is and have no idea if it exists.
mm-hmm.
All horses is a concept. Hoarseness is just hoarseness. Has nothing to do with hoarseness being a universal. So I guess we never technically talked about that. That's interesting. You know how we slaved away about how hoarseness has not one or many in it?
Yeah.
Right? There's nothing about hoarseness that makes it particular. There's nothing about hoarseness which makes it universal. The fact that there's nothing about hoarseness making it universal is particularly relevant here, because they're trying to not make it a universal and then make it a universal somehow somewhere else, but have the same form in many things. So the same way that oneness or manyness, let's call it, or universality or particularity is not in an essence, in the same way, existence isn't in an essence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right?
That makes sense.
So chairness, existence isn't in its essence. So we have two ways to get the properties of something, of an essence, or what something is, right? You have intrinsic, so it comes from within the essence, and then you have extrinsic, it comes from without. Extrinsic. Okay. So, yes. So, you can know what a man is. You have no idea if it exists. You can also, you can know what a man is perfectly at the level of the concept of man. Now, maybe not like what its accidents are, because you can see a man, obviously. But formally, what a man is, you can know just as well as what a phoenix is.
Mm-hmm.
This is actually true, right? If we just make the definition simple, a man is a rational animal. I know that just as well as that a phoenix is a fiery bird that rebirths.
Yeah.
It's the same level of knowledge. There's no less certainty in either, for the sake of argument, at least. Okay, so you can know what a man is and still be ignorant of whether it has being in reality. From this, it is clear that being is other than essence or quiddity. So if esse, existence, is not within something, then it comes from without. So it would be a principle extrinsic to it, having being. Esse. Okay? So esse comes from a principle beyond the thing itself. Now, what we mean by an intrinsic principle, obviously rationality is an intrinsic principle, but even laughter in man is a principle of man that comes intrinsically because it flows from. Laughter in man flows from being rational. It's just a byproduct of being rational that you can find things humorous or funny, right? If you don't have an intellect or rationality, you can't find that something's funny because you can't see a double meaning in things. Mm-hmm. I've thought for a long time what humor is and what, technically speaking, makes something funny. Can't figure it out. People have these kind of reductive accounts of double meaning and that a joke is something with two meanings. But I don't know how that makes it funny, exactly. I'm failing to see philosophically how the fact that something has an irony or a double meaning makes it inherently funny. I don't see, I think we could just be and we perceive it a lot as funny. But I'm not sure why, that just doesn't quite strike the essence of what funny is to me. I can't quite figure it out. But that's a total side note. So, okay, and then we have things that come through intrinsically. So everything has being coming from a principle without, unless what?
unless it's
How could we get being or essay intrinsically?
for God,
Yeah, but why?
because he's a necessary being.
It's true, but it's not quite answering the question in this particular context. I'll put it like this. So your essence is what you are. Being is outside of something's essence, so it has to receive it, so therefore it's not in their essence, right? It comes from without. God has being because his essence is just existence.
Okay, yeah. We talked about that
Yes.
last time. I remember.
So he literally says, from this it is clear that a being, essay, is other than essence or quiddity, unless perhaps there is a reality whose essence is its being. My essence is rational animal is not being, it's rational animal. If my essence was being, I would be God.
Yeah.
Right? And I wouldn't be a man. Right? Okay. Now this is very interesting and kind of fun. We'll be fine at 420. I'm just going to mention this because this is a lot of fun, I think. So, you know how, so basically what he's done is, okay, everything receives its essay from something that is not itself.
Yeah.
Right? Unless something exists in which its essence is existence. Okay? Now, you've heard that there can only be one God, that there can only be one almighty, all-powerful, right?
Yeah.
Do you have an idea, do you know exactly why there can only be one infinite or one God? Like, why can there only be one God, philosophically?
Well, because everything has to have an origin, unless. Well, I can't really explain it. I guess it wouldn't make sense to have multiple, I guess, because if everything has to come from something, eventually you're gonna get back to one, no matter what. Like I don't really know how to word it, but it makes sense. Like
Yeah, that's a decent way of putting it. Or a decent. Now, there's actually a lot of different ways you can do it. Like a really simple one is being like, well, God is infinite, but if you had two infinites, there would have to be a border on each infinite.
Then it
But
would be infinite.
but infinite is infiniteless, or borderless. The fact of the matter is, though, at least especially for a skeptic, it's not an easy thing to show why there can only be one God.
yeah.
It's not. So Aquinas here actually does it by process of elimination. So he's like, okay, unless there's a thing which its essence is its own existence, and then he says there can only be one of these, and then he actually says the reason why there can only be one of these is because he lists all the different ways in which a being can multiply at all.
Okay.
So the first way is that you add matter to a form, right? Right, so you have a form, rational soul, add some matter to it, now you have a new human, right? So you have a species, add some matter to it, now you have many individuals. That's one way to multiply things. The second way to multiply things is to add a difference to a genus. So, right, you have the genus of sensitive soul, right? If you want to make more things, you get two more species out of it by adding a difference. You say one's rational, one's not rational. Now you have two separate species. We just multiplied. We created two new things there. So you can add, so it's really just the Porphyrian tree, right, going all the way up, right? Except the final layer is adding matter. The rest is adding differences to more general genuses. And then finally, the third thing is actually by creating a separate substance, basically, which means this. If you take all the things which are hot and you separated heat from anything that was actually hot, like if you think about it, you don't just experience heat in itself. There's always things which are hot.
Yeah.
Right? heat from the sun, heat from the lamps, heat from lava. But there's no just hotness. It's always something is hot. Hotness is a accident, so therefore it's coming off of a substance, right? It's riding a substance. So that always means you're predicating hot of something. But if there were separate substances like Play-Doh, right, you would have hotness itself. When you create that separate substance, you add a new thing. So you can imagine all the things in the world that are hot, but then you add hotness itself. So that particular way is really only like a +1 to the universe, basically, because you're just adding the hotness itself.
Yeah.
Create separate substance, we'll say. Now, God doesn't fit any of these. Why? Well, God, you can't add a difference to God or it'd be more than just essay, right?
Yeah.
It'd be essay plus blank, right? You can't add matter to God because he's immaterial.
Mm-hmm.
And that's even further down the Porphyrian tree. And then finally, he's already a separate substance, so you can't create a new one. If these are the only three ways to multiply anything, God as pure essay can't be multiplied in any of these ways, therefore there can only be one. So now we just have to prove that there's one. And that's how it works. So, okay. So here's the argument. We have it down. God would be something in which there's an essence which is just essay.
Yeah.
We just have to show that there is something. Now, I wrote a whole entire paper on grad school on this particular argument. There's a lot of ways to say, a lot of things to talk about. I mean, I wrote 20, actually, not only that, I wrote 20 pages on like one of the steps in this argument. So there's a lot to say, but we'll just go through it like this. So it says, whatever belongs to a thing is either caused by the principles of its nature, we just said, intrinsic or extrinsic. As for the capacity of laughter in man, for intrinsic, or from an extrinsic principle as light in the air from the influence of the sun. Now, being itself cannot be caused by the form or quiddity of a thing. By caused, I mean efficient cause, because that thing would then be its own cause, and it would bring itself into being, which is impossible. So, in other words, you can't receive existence from yourself because, so think about it, like you receive laughter from yourself in a way because you have rationality and that produces laughter. So you're kind of your own efficient cause for the fact that you can laugh. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But you can't bring yourself into existence because if I brought myself into existence, I must have existed prior to my existence. And then I would already exist. So then you just go into a vicious cycle. Well, if I brought myself into existence, then I must have been in existence. If I did that, then I must have been in existence. If I did that, I must have been in existence. All the way down the line, never stops. So you can't be your own efficient cause. So you must receive your existence from something outside of you. So if you have object A and it gives existence to object B, the question is, did object A, because you can't give yourself existence, right? Is object B just existence itself, or did it receive existence from star? Okay, maybe shouldn't have started with A. Well, so that's the question. Anything that exists, does it cause its own existence or not? Well, you can't cause your own existence.
Yeah.
Unless you're just existence.
Which is God.
Which is God. So you go all the way up. So it's kind of like, so yeah, we can just read the rest. So, it follows that everything whose being is distinct from its nature must have being from another. And because everything that exists through another is reduced to that which exists through itself, oh gosh, what was the word? Yeah, paraliud. Yes, so paraliud, P-E-R-A-L-I-U-D, means to exist through another. I think it's U-I-D. This means to exist through another, and then per se is to exist through through yourself, through another, through yourself. So getting your essay through another, getting your essay through yourself. So you have to get essay through yourself. The only way you could do that is if you existed forever.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you came into existence, it couldn't have been you. So you go all the way down to the thing that existed forever. And so, yeah, it's pretty simple. It's kind of a necessary being argument. But what's interesting about it is there's two things with this. The way I interpret... Okay, yeah. So some people say, well, why can't we just go on forever and just keep getting, well, A gets its existence from Z, and Z gets its existence from B, and why can't we just have a infinite regress of this, right? Mm-hmm. Well, the answer is that there's two kinds, and St. Thomas distinguishes from them many times, distinguishes these two many times. There's two kinds of infinite causal series, believe it or not. There's per accidens, by accident, and then there's per se, of itself. Per accidens causal series are causal series in which the existence of the thing, which is the existence of something is not dependent on the active existence of the thing previously in its chain. Meaning, your existence does not depend on your dad being alive right now, right?
Yeah.
Now, St. Thomas does say this can go back forever. There can be an infinite causal per accidens series. I disagree with this because I don't see how it comes into existence in the first place.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I honestly... Now, to be honest, he doesn't say they do exist. He says there's no logical contradiction in their existence, which might be true to a certain degree. It's technically true, and so if you're not asking how the thing came into existence in the first place...
Yeah, I mean, with some things it's true. Like, my existence isn't dependent on, my great grandparents being alive.
Yes, but if you take everyone in your family, like how'd they even get existence at all? That's a different question. Okay, but per se is not like a sequential order where you just need a quick bump like a domino. Mm-hmm. This is that all the parts need to be existing at the same time. So, for example, St. Thomas's famous analogy is the rock is moved by the stick, which is moved by the hand, which is moved by the mind. Mm. But imagine if you stop moving your hand. Well, the stick would also stop, and the rock would also stop moving. Mm-hmm. Right? And so the movement of the rock, it's technically speaking caused by... So you're like literally just caused by, your parents, right?
Yeah.
You're not in any way really caused by your grandparents. But the other analogy, right? When you move the stick with your hand by your mind, now it's true the rock is technically speaking moved by the stick, right? But also, technically speaking, the rock's also kind of moved by the hand, which is also kind of moved by your mind too.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So the rock basically in the per accidens causal series, it's just the one right before you can say truthfully caused you, but in a per se causal series, you truthfully say everything is causing you that you're being upheld by. Mm. And so these per se causal series cannot be infinite. And it's easy to understand because of an analogy. So imagine, I might have told you this once before, but now you're hearing it really in context. Imagine if you were going to get like your driver's license and you go to the DMV and they go, oh, before you get your driver's license, you have to go to this other agency to get this approval thing, this stamp. You go, okay, so you go to the agency. So we'll say driver's license. So now you go to agency A. And you go, hey, I need to get this stamp from you guys so I can go get my driver's license. They go, oh my gosh, yeah, we can do that as long as you get this stamp from this other agency. And you go, okay, well, all right. So then you go to agency B. They go, hey, I need to get this stamp from you guys so I can get a stamp from agency A so that I can get my driver's license. They go, oh great, yeah, we'll give that to you if you go, but we need you to get a stamp first from agency C in order to, and so then you go to agency C. And then you go, hey, I need this stamp so I can get a stamp from B so I can get a stamp from A so that I can get my driver's license. and then it's like, and it goes on. Now, if this went on forever, would it be possible? Would the driver's license ever come into existence at all?
No.
It can't. It's impossible. That's why these can't be there. But the per accidents could be true. Like you could come to existence and we could have an infinite series of parents in the past because your existence isn't actively depending on every single person in the past, right? Mm-hmm. But if your existence depended on all these agencies giving the stamp for you to come into existence, you'd never come into existence.
Yeah.
Right? Because we could never get the stamp. And so it's a similar thing. The fact that we know that anything exists at all, we can know that God exists. Mm-hmm. Because you go, well, how did that thing get existence? Well, I got it from that thing. And then I got it from that thing. And ultimately, you're going to have to get to a thing which has existence without depending on something else for its existence. Right? And so by virtue of the fact that this is really the thing. Because we're trying to be like, no, this has to be a finite causal series. A per se causal series has to be finite. If there's a driver's license, we know for a fact you finally got the stamp. So we'll say it's at D that you finally get the stamp. You get the stamp, okay, great. Then you go to C, yep, you get your driver's license. Similarly with existence. Okay, God, this chair exists because the man exists, and the man exists because God created it, right? So now we know there's God. Because when you're talking about how something exists, you're talking about per se, and this is the philosophical reason why we say God holds all things in being.
Yeah, makes sense.
So that's how that works. So basically, to wrap up the chapter, you basically go, in immaterial substances, it's a combination of esse and existence, but these are not God because they're composed. But then, these are not simple things, but there is a simple substance. It's the first cause. There can only be one because there's only 3 ways to multiply. The fact that anything at all exists necessarily means, because that would be a per se causal series of dependencies of existence, that there must be something there whose essence is existence, because there's things which are there whose essence is not just existence. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's the most short way to put it. If there is something whose essence is not existence, necessarily then there must be something whose essence is existence.
Yeah.
Or then you would have the infinite regress of a per se causal series, which doesn't make sense.
Yeah, exactly.
So you need God, basically. And then, finally he ends with, I was just going to, this is one last thing. He ends again, he was talking about, he kind of does a whole hierarchy of all beings. It's kind of cool, but basically, it's still more Porphyrian tree stuff, but long story short, you have like the first cause, which is God. It's basically this is basically the idea why immaterial things are more perfect than material things, because you have something which is just esse is existence, right? And then you get esse plus essence, right? And then finally you get esse plus essence plus matter. And you have to go through this state. If you want to go from just pure esse, which is God, in order to get to esse plus essence plus matter, you have to go from esse plus essence, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that makes sense because form comes before matter in the ontological sense. And so you have to go to essence plus esse, and these are angels. And then after that, you can get to essence plus esse plus matter, and these are humans. And because angels, by their nature, by order of being, you have an order of being right here, right? You have an order of being right here. Because by their nature, angels, just being mere essence and esse, are closer to God, then these are technically more perfect because they're closer to him. and these are not as perfect. So the less parts you have, the more perfect you are. Angels have less parts, therefore they're more perfect. So.
Oh, okay. I feel like that also makes a, because I remember when we talked about how it doesn't make sense that matter is like what makes us like our like what makes us an individual, because when you die you don't have the matter anymore. You just have essay and essence. But that actually makes a lot of sense, because other than the problem of like redefining what separates a human and an angel, it makes sense, because that's how we get rid of our sins and our cleanse. We're made more perfect.
Yes.
Through. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's that's kind of the hierarchy of being. So. Yeah.